On the next Kennedy, are we in for an October surprise that could upend the entire election? Katherine Timpf, Gillian Turner, and Dave Smith join me with their predictions. All right, Bill Clinton blurring the lines between his nonprofit foundation and his definitely for-profit self. They're raising red flags for conflicts of interest. Will this hurt Hillary Clinton at all in the polls? My patented party panel is joining me now to break it down. Gillian Turner, former White House Security Council staffer. She's also a Fox News contributor. Also tonight, Kat Timpf, correspondent on the Greg Gutfeld Show on Fox News, and also a reporter for National Review. And joining me once again, it's comedian Dave Smith, host of the podcast Part of the Problem, Let's Find the Solutions. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. All right, so if this was the interim, if this is what was going on in this interim time between presidencies, what is her actual presidency going to look like as far as a cash and power grab?
Oh, man, who knows? It's amazing because they very clearly knew Hillary was going to be running for president, and they knew all this stuff probably wouldn't look good, but they want the money, so they'll take it, and she'll still win the presidency. You know, I don't know. From my perspective, the libertarian perspective, the government is the mafia, and people shouldn't be surprised when the participants act like mobsters.
No.
This is what happens in government, and it's pretty gross.
Yeah, and when you get so drunk on power, all you want is more of it. You want to consolidate it, and for a lot of people, money is power.
Yeah.
So to have power and money and the most powerful job in the world, it's a pretty frightening conscript. Now, he was also the honorary chancellor of a for-profit university. And a lot of people don't talk about that. How is that any different than what Donald Trump was doing with Trump U?
Well, the difference is that Bill Clinton is more charming in public. That's really the difference. None of this is surprising. Everybody knows that they're doing this stuff. But what's interesting is that, you know, like the Bill Clinton Inc., that'd be like something a pundit would use to describe it.
Yeah,
no.
or a book about him, like Clinton
That's
Cash.
exactly what the people that were, you know, one of his aides was using, the word he was using to describe it. It's very clear what's going on. And what's really interesting is that when Hillary, before she became Secretary of State, they vowed to not create conflict of interest or even create the appearance of conflict of interest. That was the standard that she set for herself. No matter what you think this is a million coincidences, at least there's the appearance of that here, which means this lady can't even adhere to standards she sets for herself. Not good in terms of giving her more power.
Now, one of the things that's surprising to some people about this is it was Chelsea Clinton who wanted to clean up the foundation. Are you surprised by that, Gillian?
No, I wasn't. I think she's been working at least in some capacity with the foundation for years and years and years. I guess it previously was more behind the scenes. Now that she's
where does this issue, as far as this leaked email, where does this fall in the recent revelations we've had about Hillary Clinton and her family and the people around her?
About the Chelsea Clinton kind of
now about the whole
this?
Bill Clinton thing and, you know, getting $50 million with 66 more promised in speaking fees and these advisory boards.
Here's the thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with former politicians taking the show on the road after they're out of office, collecting fees for giving speeches, for advising
$13,454,000 in 2011 alone for his speeches.
Must be real good at talking.
He uses that tone
what's wrong
to
with
$20.
Mike, the point here is I don't think you can condemn former politicians for going out and giving speeches and collecting money for it, but there is a problem when, like, for example, what we saw in the batches of emails released a couple of weeks ago, when you're saying one thing to sort of like bank executives, for example, and a different thing to the American people. We can parse the content of these speeches and talk about what's okay and what's not, but I don't think it's fair to shame them for taking exorbitant fees even.
Well, it's not just the
fees. If the Clinton Foundation is taking a bunch of money, if they're taking a bunch of money from Saudi Arabia, and then Hillary's Secretary of State,
they put the money back into the organization.
But that's the problem, that it's not the nonprofit. That's what we're learning from this, is the lines were blurred. So he was profiting from it because his wife was conceivably going to be president, taking money from places like Saudi Arabia.
If he doesn't profit from it, other people are profiting from it. People who get contracts and things like that. So he's handing out all of this money, and then she's promoting wars that Saudi Arabia wants us to fight. I think that's a tremendous conflict of interest.
You can't, if it's true, it's a conflict of interest.
She set the standard at appearance of conflict of interest. That's where she's at.
But the reality is actually worse than you know, whatever impropriety we might have thought now that we know what's going on with these connections and the millions of dollars that he was pocketing.
But you just can't discount, though, that doesn't eliminate the fact that the foundation actually has done some spectacular work, and I have to
Yeah, actually it does. I mean, that's like saying, you know, Hitler was a brilliant painter.
Yeah.
No, it's not,
well,
though,
you know, maybe his pieces should be up in a museum. No.
Yeah, Stalin did great with the trains or whatever.
No,
like, everyone does some good
because
work.
people are also making money from it when they go on to, like Teneo, they go on to create different ventures. That doesn't sully the nonprofit.
Yeah, it does. It actually, it completely sullies the nonprofit.
How?
Because you take a big bucket of toxic sludge and you pour it into a pristine pool.
Because
you can't say, well, the water used to be really clean. Go ahead and swim in it.
Because
there are
people
parasites
leave
in there
the
now.
Foundation and then create another organization. They're never allowed to work for a for-profit company ever again?
If the idea of government is that these are public servants who serve the will of the people, and then
They're
they
not
use
public
their
servants. The people who work for the
She was a
foundation
public
are
servant
not
when she was
public-
Secretary
Yes,
of
she
State
was,
and
yes,
a United States Senator who was using her power to focus all of these people and donors in a place that you say was pristine. I think it's shady because that's pay to play. They knew that they were donating money and getting political
These emails
favors.
are literally describing pay to play. There's really no question about it whatsoever.
I don't see it so black and white, I suppose. I guess the point being here that, look, maybe I'm like,
if it were black and white, it would be okay. If he had his personal ventures here and the foundation over here and there were some separation, that would be better. The problem is those lines are completely blurred.
And the aide talked about how he blurs them to get more money.
Well, because I think the point, look, I'm on the defense here for whatever reason, but
because you can handle it.
I think it's because he's still an individual. He's still the former president of the United States.
Who has access more than anyone else to the future president of the United States.
My question is, how does he separate out what would that look like? How does he separate out his Bill Clinton?
I tell you what, it doesn't look like. It doesn't look like this. It is ethical. All right,
he was trying, bad try.
Donald Trump says he's the victim of a double standard, and it involves Hillary Clinton, Adele, and the World Series. But this time, does he actually have a point? Please stay put. I love you. Oh, Donald. Donald Trump likes to paint himself as the victim of a vast conspiracy to silence his cause, and he's always pointing to what he says are the media's double standards for him and for Hillary. But now, he actually might have a point. Yesterday, a CNN reporter questioned why he was taking time off from campaigning to open his latest luxury hotel in D.C. Now, meanwhile, nobody questioned Hillary Clinton for taking the night off for her birthday to attend an Adele concert, nor for Tim Kaine, who went to the World Series. Are double standards afoot? The party panelists back Gillian Turner, Kat Timpf, and Dave Smith. I think that this election season is loaded with double standards. You know, I've said this a million times. I'm not voting for Donald Trump, but I do see that you, especially with the media, you have two sets of rules. Do you see it that way?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because of the way Donald Trump talks, people are, it's easier to attack him. But also, I personally judge anybody who goes to an Adele concert. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. Like,
Jillian's mouth is again.
You want to be sad?
For my birthday, it was the best concert I've ever seen.
What's your vibe like?
We'll go together.
Are people crying?
We'll cry.
Like,
you're bawling the whole time. You'll love it.
I don't like that. I cry enough on my own time with my own personal resources.
Maybe it would be cathartic.
Like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I can cry for free. I do it all the time.
All right, here's one of my issues. Hillary Clinton goes on the stump and criticizes him for being a bad businessman, for losing $1 billion in a year, and for his casino going bankrupt, and anyone should be able to make money in a casino. But then she gets mad at him for going out and opening one of his own businesses, like a good business person should do.
That's what they do.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of double standards. I don't know. I'm going to remain neutral about Adele.
All right, Switzerland.
But I do think... I think Trump is right in essence that there's a double standard. I mean, the media has been against. I'm not a Trump supporter either, but it's been the most unfair coverage I've ever seen. I mean, it's even worse than McCain-Obama. It's I mean, look, Hillary Clinton.
I mean, they actively say it. They don't even hide it anymore.
This isn't the last few weeks. I'm saying from the very beginning of the campaign. Look, Donald Trump said those comments about Mexicans, which were very specifically not about Mexicans, but about the ones coming over the border. He said Mexico's not sending their best. They send a lot of rapists. You know, you can be offended by that if you want to. Fine. Hillary Clinton said half of Donald Trump's supporters, 20% of the American electorate, are deplorable people. Now, why is it in our culture that it's completely acceptable to trash our own people? But if you trash foreigners, oh, that's really offensive.
Well, then all of a sudden, if he tells her, you know, she's a nasty woman in the debate, and I think that's fair.
You tell her that every monologue.
Absolutely.
She's
I mean,
nasty.
but he said, you know, you're a nasty woman. I think there's a big difference between that and saying that all of your supporters or half of your supporters are deplorable and irredeemable.
Here's the thing about that comment, because I disagree with you. That comment really riled me up, and I'll tell you why. And it actually gave me pause to think about some things that were useful. So there's this, people have been talking about the gender bias, these debates. Oh, we hope that Hillary Clinton doesn't sort of lose her temper, because we all know that the inherent bias in all of us is that people don't respond well to seeing women yell, women being angry, right? Okay, that is what, but what that comment reinforced for me in the third debate was, you know what, it's equally unappealing to see a man talking to a woman like that.
Okay, but you know what?
That riled me.
Okay, you can't call everything sexist. If you are strong enough and big enough to lead the greatest military in the world, then you can handle a few insults.
You're right.
And I didn't see that one being so egregious, and I can't stand this. Oh, every time my feelings are hurt, I'm going to claim sexism.
By the way,
that's
it's not
what the
also
word.
But
yelling,
of nasty is
listen,
kind of
I see what you're saying, but yelling and being shrill.
It's insulting.
If it weren't for yelling and being shrill, I
Howard
wouldn't have a
Dean
job.
would be the Democratic nominee if he hadn't yelled out like that, okay?
Right.
Donald Trump has statues of him with a micro penis
And
out
it's
there.
not
If they did
about
anything
what's-
like that to Hillary Clinton,
can you
people would be
imagine?
yelling
Did
sexism.
they have a statue in New York?
Well, they didn't
Oh
get as
yeah, they
popular.
did in Central Park.
I don't want to see
it was in
anyone
response
naked.
to
We have to
Trump.
move on from nude statues to libertarians. No secret that libertarians now having some trouble in the polls, but over in Iceland, they're doing quite well. They're helping to build an Arctic stronghold of freedom. Party panel returns to discuss the rise of the Pirate Party. But first, could a good economy hurt whoever is the next president? Anthony Scaramucci will explain why and if you should be worried about a recession. Libertarians, listen up, because over in Iceland, there's a party going on. It's a pirate party. That's right. Come Saturday, polls suggest they will likely be running the entire country. So what is a pirate party, you might ask, in the land of Vikings? And why should we be paying any attention? Well, because it's a collection of libertarians, anarchists, and hackers who are sick of government thievery and failure. The pirates are running on a platform of individual freedom, personal responsibility, right to privacy, and transparency in government. They also say they plan to crowdsource a new constitution and offer asylum to NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden. So should we be jumping on this pirate ship? The party panel is back. Gillian Turner, Kat Timpf, and Dave Smith. Of course, I have to go to you first on the pirate party.
Because I am most likely to move to England and become a Liberty pirate.
Anti-libertarians,
Iceland, Jesus.
Anti-libertarians have always said that, oh, Somalia, that's your, you know, there's no government, it's anarchy, that's your libertarian stronghold. But really, in Iceland, they're quite well organized. They're upset with what their government has done.
Right.
Iceland is a very interesting place, and now maybe we see liberty roaring once again.
A good example would be the United States of America, which started as an experiment in the most restrained government in human history and happened to produce the most successful country ever. And now we have all these problems because we're spending more than any country ever. Yeah. But anyway, I kind of got distracted on that. But yeah, this is interesting. They're actually doing really well. If they win, I might have to move to Iceland, and that's gonna. I just know the TV's going to suck there, and I don't know.
But they have like hot springs and probably yummy breakfast treats.
I've been spoiled by America.
And they've got Bjork. I mean, they got Bjork all over the place.
Bjork.
Yeah, she was in a band called the Sugar Cubes, and then she was a solo singer from Iceland. Very famous. So Kat, I know that you embrace freedom like it's your grandma, God rest her soul. And I'm just wondering if you also see the beauty in this, and are there any parallels between what's happening in Iceland and what could happen in these United States?
Yeah, well, it's all, people are angry, right? Mm-hmm. They're angry if everything's rigged, this and that, but it seems like, you know, it's all a populist sort of idea, but here people are actually looking at less government, or in Iceland, and then here it's more like, well, what do we get the government to do about it? And I really like, what do we get the government to do about the government? It's ridiculous, but it's true.
Yeah.
Here they're like, whatever, we don't need you. We're going to have a pirate party, which I like, but I don't like the name pirate party.
What does it remind you of?
Pirate-themed parties where like dudes are talking in horrible voices and girls with like thrown up in the bushes, and it's just never a good time.
But I think it's
It always sounds more fun than it's going to be.
Sounds like it's rated R.
Oh no.
But I think they're called a pirate party because of how they came into being arguing about copyright infringement.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense from that
But
perspective.
I have hoop earrings and red and white stripes and puking,
know,
and I don't
but
care for any of those things.
But yeah, pirates always mean parrots, and that's fun. Well, the Libertarian Party ticket is running in two different directions here in this country, again with Gary Johnson making a case for voting third party and wholesale rejection. Both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, while his running mate Bill Weld seems to be going rogue once again, and instead of running for his own campaign, he's running against Donald Trump. In a statement yesterday, Weld said, quote, "After careful observation and reflection, I have come to believe that Donald Trump, if elected president of the United States, would not be able to stand up to this pressure and this criticism without becoming unhinged and unable to perform completely the duties of his office." So what is happening in the Libertarian ticket? And Gillian, I think I know what you're going to say. Like, you Libertarians can't have it both ways. You can't be mad at the people that you've nominated to run your national ticket and expect all these things from them and...
No, actually not at all. I think that I'm a big supporter of any other parties that want to come onto the scene. I think it's very healthy for American voters, for democracy at large. I mean, starting to sound like a school teacher, but I really do believe that. As somebody who's an independent, doesn't fit squarely in either Republican or Democratic Party, I feel the pain there. My issue with this is it sounds like he's kind of running because he's interested in the political power that accompanies him as a vice presidential candidate, which is not really the best reason to enter the race.
He has talked about that. You know, he's talked about, you know, how great it is for him to be on the national stage once again, and you know, he's missed the limelight, and this was his only entree. You know, he's not going to be nominated as a Republican VP candidate.
No, I think he was completely irrelevant in politics until he attached himself to the Libertarian ticket, which is kind of, this party is built up, and a lot of, not the people at the top of the party who run the LP, but a lot of people who work in the party, a lot of people in the trenches are real ideological libertarians who really believe in something. And I hope all of those people look back and say, we had this humongous opportunity, unlike any third party has ever had this year. It was handed to them. And what have we done to advance the message of libertarianism? So what have we done to advance Bill Weld's career? I guess it's been pretty good for him.
Yeah.
But it seems like the same thing with the Rand Paul campaign. A bunch of people get some jobs off of it. A bunch of people make some money. And what have we done for the actual message of libertarianism, which, by the way, is the greatest political philosophy ever devised by man?
That's absolutely
Libertarians know what Aleppo is now.
Yeah.
No, listen, everyone knows what Aleppo is now.
Listen,
Syrians know what Aleppo is.
I said this backstage, and Gillian challenged me to say it on air, so I just want to say, Gary Johnson has fed into what all of the worst preconceived notions of libertarians are, that we're intellectual lightweight potheads, which is not true.
Oh, it's not? Oh,
no. Well, some of us.
I'm doing it wrong.
Erase that on my bio. All right, you guys, thank you so much, Dave, Kat, and Gillian. Great to see you all. Thanks so much. All right, coming up, Donald Trump says he's got a new deal for Black Americans, but we're taking a page from FDR, help him budge the needle this close to Election Day. Fiery conversation coming up. Stay here.